What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Natal Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be continuing our Pluto through houses series, and we'll be taking a look at Pluto in the 10th house. So, let's get into it. What's Pluto? Pluto is the soul itself. It's the psyche of the soul. It's the desires that emanate from the soul, as well as the positions in which the soul is placed that triggers its evolution or transformation. 10th house. 10th house is the original house of Capricorn. It's known as the house of career standing, public persona, achievement, success, materialization, all that good stuff. So, when you get Pluto in the 10th house of a natal chart, these are very much so people who are coming into this life with a core desire of achievement and the gaining of power. Almost as if, they're at the apex of their desire for that, right? Because Pluto is personal power, and the 10th house is an element of power, but it represents the power that you achieve through hard work, through, a great public image. And a lot of things come with that. 10th house is also the house of government. So what we have here is that more times than not, someone with Pluto in the 10th house, if they have, other positions that dictate leadership, such as like Leo or Capricorn placements, it can really show someone who goes into politics, who even if they're in like the medical field or the education field, they'll be thrusted towards positions of leadership or like something like administration, okay? Because this is, the 10th house, like I said, is like power and being an executive or a boss. So you have that element that plays out. Now, the 10th house also corresponds to our father, okay? And elements from, depending on what's going on in your 10th house, can give insight into your relationship with your father. Pluto here, especially when it's like close towards the MC and probably aspecting your son as well, will show a father who is very successful or powerful in their own career. So this can signify being born to like a celebrity, someone within the government, and very early on the individual tunes into who their father is, and the relationship with the father is one where if it's adversely, aspected, can show a power struggle. Father can try to have too much influence over the individual, or the individual seeks to obtain a position of power like the father. All right. So the relationship here with the father is going to be pivotal with how the person, goes out into the world and assimilates themselves. And then another thing that goes along with this is that people in higher positions, especially like if you have a 7th house aspect, Libra influence, are going to, or 11th house is going to want to assist that person. So this can be, that entrepreneur who they start their business and within a year they meet an investor who, or just someone in general who wants to take a chance on them and helps them get to that next point. All right. Really interesting thing here regarding this position is that it can also denote restrictions in terms of career, like taking a while to find your niche, because internally, like I said, this is the psyche of the soul. The person may, from the beginning, say, I want to be famous, or have a particular idea or perception about what success is. And then Pluto goes and seeks to show the person that isn't necessarily true. Or it can be a position where you get what you want and then you're still unsatisfied. All right? But in some cases, the person experiences rejection early on. And what they do with this rejection really determines what happens on later in life. Some people get, really deterred from their path of success, and it makes others work harder or develop a chip on their shoulder. Okay? So, as always, gotta look at the whole chart. The first thing I would really look at is the position of your sun, because your sun is, definitely associated with your career and, your purpose and what you do easily. So that's going to help you get an idea of how you should approach your career. For example, let's say you have this Pluto in the 10th house and then you have a 6th house sun. You really, depending on, how it plays out, let's say you have a 6th house sun also with some 12th house energy, you may really be meant to have success behind the scenes, okay? And let's say you could be around other powerful or quote unquote famous people, but your role in that success is behind the scenes. You may not necessarily get that notoriety. You may be meant to acquire success through being of service, or your success will come from a lot of behind the scenes action, okay? Think about, especially with that 12th house influence, think of like a counselor, somebody who has saved a lot of lives. But, and this can be for like famous people, and they'll be like, one of the major influences of my life is, my therapist or my counselor. Success, you're still very successful, but it isn't necessarily in the public eye. Now, for those who do come into the public eye, the nature and way that Pluto works here is that there can be, some type of, think of like the Me Too movement. So some type of scandal associated with your career. Think of the Me Too movement. Think of Richard Nixon with Watergate. So you acquire this success. You have this, strong position of influence, but then something goes wrong and your image is transformed or looked at another way. Or you have to also work to, reclaim that image, undergo a transformation. This also makes me think of like a T.I. He's definitely had like two different images within his time in the public eye. So overall, like I said, you want to look at the position of your sun. You want to look at the ruler of this house, where that's at, because it's going to show where your desires are really also coming from as well. And I would just say, don't give up. This is the original house of Capricorn and Saturn, so restriction and limitation will appear, and you won't get what you necessarily desire until you're ready for it. But you got to remain relentless. You got to, keep striving towards it. All right? So, this is my interpretation of Pluto in the 10th house. Feel free to comment. Let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do so now. If you need a reading, holla at me. Till next time, peace.